Good afternoon. My name's Matt Poynton. I'm a projects officer with Futurelearn, and today I'm with my colleague Adrian Ryan, and we're going to be having a look at the Coursera platform, which is another free online learning platform which may be of interest to some of you out there. So, Adrian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Adrian Ryan. I'm a project support officer for Futurelearn, and I predominantly support union learning projects to help achieve their outcomes, and also deliver quite a lot of sessions in the workplace along with Matt. And that's really me.
Okay. Do you know Coursera, Adrian?
No, this one's a bit new to me, Matt, I'm afraid. I have registered today. I have seen it in the past, but it's not one that I regularly promote because I've not really gone into great detail into it. But I have actually registered and logged in. So that's as much as I've done.
Okay.
So if I click on it and share my screen, hopefully you will see it.
Well, I have to say, while you're doing that, it's also quite new to me in the respect that I'd never even heard of Coursera. And when this lockdown started, I was doing a bit of research on another online learning platform, and it said that Coursera was inspired by that platform, which was Khan Academy. And I thought, what a Coursera, I've never even heard of it. So I went on, and I rather like it now, and I've done several courses on it already. So, okay, can you get your screen up, Adrian?
You'll just need to give me permission, Matt, sorry.
Okay. How do I do that? Can you get your screen up?
Here we go. Can you see that now?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Very good. So that is the Coursera landing page then, and you're new to it, yeah?
Yeah, I signed up, logged in with my username, and then I was asked to complete a brief learning profile, which I can edit. Mm-hmm. And very quickly, I just put field officer in education industry. Obviously, it'll differ depending on what people put in, but for me, that was about the quickest and most appropriate sort of title I could find. There's probably a more apt one, but I will look at that later on, because that does seem to give you some preferences depending on what you put in there.
Yeah, I think it does. I followed it in, and it asked me about what my industry was, and I think I put the trade union industry, which it didn't recognise. Okay, what do you want to learn then?
Well, I did glance down earlier, and I quite like the idea of, I've done things around forensic science and before, but I actually fancy something around psychology. I think that's something really interesting.
Why don't you type in psychology at the top and let's see what happens.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so there are 766 total results for psychology. Not all of them will be relevant. But what I want to do before we go into anything is just look at this very brief kind of screen showing what they are. So the top one is Introduction to Psychology. It's from Yale University. For viewers who are familiar with the Futurelearn platform, Coursera is similar. In short, although there are differences, it's probably like the American version of Coursera of Futurelearn. So what you've got is outside universities delivering courses on various subjects. And because it's American-based, they tend to be universities from across the Atlantic. So Yale, I've got a number of courses on there. We've got University of Toronto there, Wesleyan. They're all American universities there. Although, of course, there are non-American universities on there. So do you want to have a quick look, see if there's one that really grabs your fancy?
There's an interesting one there, psychological first aid, which would be very useful at the moment. Positive psychiatry and mental first aid, mental health. I mean, they all, yeah, there's Buddhism and modern psychology. Yeah, they look interesting.
Okay, well, pick one.
I think what I'll do is I will, because it's starting from scratch on this, I think I will click the introduction.
Okay, so let's go on and see what happens. So this is a typical landing page for a Coursera course. It tells you roughly what the course is about, and if you go on the menu, it'll tell you who the instructors are. And no, there we are. Yeah. So these are the people who'll be teaching you, and they are, you know, proper professors or academics from different universities. And there's also the syllabus as well, which is worth looking at. And this breaks it down week by week as to what you'll be doing. And to be honest, I think it's really worthwhile before you start any of these courses, having a quick look through the syllabus, because when we were doing a webinar with Birkbeck College, part of the University of London, they were saying, like, actually read the syllabus first, because then you'll know if it's the course for you. And the title doesn't always reflect that. So have a look through that syllabus and then see, is this the course for you? Now, I'd like you to go on enrollment options, if you wouldn't mind, Adrian. So there we are. And this one, let's have a thing. It doesn't, does it have a cost? It doesn't have a cost on it, it seems, with this one. So this is a free course to do. Some of them you pay. Well, you can go on all of them for free, but some of them, if you pay, you get the certificate and some extra tests and accreditation. A bit like with the Futurelearn. This one, from what I can see there, seems to be free whatever.
I mean, that's an interesting point, Matt, because I know on other websites where you pay for certificates of achievement, the issue that you've got is you're not sitting in tests or exams in exam conditions. So they're not, so they're really, if they say it's a certificate, it's normally a certificate of participation rather than actually a qualification certificate. So if you're paying expecting the qualification, it may be that you've actually got to go somewhere to sit the test or sit the exam. If you just want to learn for learning's sake and just for your own personal benefit or for some CPD type training, then I don't think you'd pay. There may be specific courses that you want to pay for that are related to real interests that you've got that actually are quite reasonable when you look at the cost. But for me, I like free every time.
Okay. Well, what I will say, I've tried out the pay option and I've tried out the free options. And with all of them, one of the things I like about Coursera is all the ones I've done, at least, there is a degree of testing. And I'm going to show you some of those later, even on the free course. But yeah, you're right. It's not in exam conditions. And so, you know, you could look up the answers and that kind of stuff. So it is more for personal pleasure that I'm learning. The ones that you pay for, there are assignments to complete, and I'm going to show those. And I actually think there's a degree of academic rigor in there, and I can show you that later. Anything else you want to look at with this course?
No, I think I'm ready to go. Okay,
so we know how to search. We know what a course looks like. You would go on that button there, the enroll for free, and then you could start that course, and then at the end, if you complete it, you will get that course completion certificate, which looks like the one over there. Okay, what we're going to do now, if you get rid of your screen, I'll share my screen and show you some of the courses that I've done already, okay?
Yep.
So, okay, so here's my screen as we are at the moment. And as you can see, I'm currently doing a course on Buddhism and modern psychology, right? So I'm going to have a quick look at that. That actually came up on your list, didn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So when I click on it, it takes me back to my last place. It's with Princeton University, and this shows me what I've done so far and where I am. And so here we are, resources for week 5. It'll tell you how long to do them, and then there's a little brief note from Robert Wright, who's the educator. So what we're going to do, I'll go on the week 5 so we get it in a bit more detail. Now, this course, the Buddhism and Modern Psychology one, which is a free one, I haven't paid for this and there isn't a pay option, is unusual in that it's very, very heavy on the videos. So it's virtually all taught through video. Now, I'm quite an audio and visual learner, I think, when I've done the test, so I quite like that. I'm going to just play a very, very short extract from one of his videos so you get the idea, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the last lecture, we fleshed out this modular view of the mind, this idea that there's no chief executive in your brain, but rather there are a lot of modules that take turns exerting dominant influence on your thought and your...
You get the idea, yeah? So it's basically like he's talking to you, it's a lecture. These are really long. I mean, that one was 19 minutes long. But what he does do, and I quite like this, is at the end, when we get to the end of the video, if I can get it through.
Of self-control, of controlling our appetites. And
then
we're going to ask, well,
there
how
are
does self-control happen if, in
and
fact,
that's one of the
there is
ways
no
that they
self?
assess. So here we are. Look, and then this question comes up, and the video won't finish until you've answered the question. So I'm going to... Right, so I don't know, because I haven't, I mean, I did this earlier, but okay, according to this lecture, I might a proponent of the modular mind. I don't know. I'll go for the first one, and I submit, and it's correct, and there we are. And so I can then go on to the next question. So that's one of his main assessment methods in this course. Another thing that I've not seen in any other courses, but this one's quite good, is he's got this thing called office hours at the end of every module, where he chats to people and he talks to them about like questions they've raised on message boards. So I'll give you a taster.
Welcome to another week of office hours. This is the star of the show, Fraser. He says hello. And there's his sidekick, Milo. Hello, Milo. And then there's me. And I will come into view shortly. Anyway, speaking of Fraser and Milo, we want to start with a comment that came from the discussion forum.
And so on. And I really like this because it's really personal and nice. He's basically having a chat with you, but also he's responding to the comments from the discussion forum. Now, I think, because they're not comments that we've been making, and this was recorded a while back, I think they're comments from the first time this was recorded. But nonetheless, I think it's good. I'm going to show you the other form of assessment that he uses. So I think, is it this one? Yes. Now there's this one here, and it's a peer-graded assignment. And this is something that's existed in all of the Coursera courses I've done. So it's worth having a look. So if we go on the peer-graded assignment, they give you a question or a choice of questions. So on this, there's 2, and then you have to complete it, and it says 800 words, which is not that short at the end of the day. I think there is a degree of academic rigor here. And then when you've done it, so there's my submission that I put in, and there we are. If you clicked on there, you would get my submission, and then you have to grade the assignments of 3 other students. And that can be quite challenging, particularly if you've not been to uni before, you've been out of the uni environment for a while. But, you know, they do give you some quite good guidelines. So here we are. There's the fairness and accuracy. So, you know, are you getting 3 points, 2 points, 1 point? Do they answer the question? Evidence and argument, clarity. And so people will grade my assignment on that. What I got seems to have passed, and then they may add some comments. So I've had Jane as he thought it was a nice answer. Divjot Singh and Alexandra, they've left their comments. They're the 3 people who've graded my assignment. So whilst yes, this wasn't under exam conditions, at the end of the day, for me, there's a real quality bit of learning there.
Yeah, I think when you look at that, that's a really good way of doing it. And I think when you look at the other sites that are available, like Futurelearn, which we've already mentioned, it doesn't quite go as in depth as this as peer graded assignments, but it would be a good starting point to complete one of them courses before you get into somewhere where you've got to do an example like this. If you don't feel confident, because a lot with Futurelearn, you can make comments and people can pick up on the comments and then respond, and that will start getting you into thinking about how you can write, how you structure, and then how you would actually review other people's work as well. Yeah. So I think I can see them really complement themselves. Interesting that this is the American version.
I would say one of the key differences with Futurelearn is I think the Coursera courses do tend to be longer. You know, they all seem to be 6, 8 weeks, something like that. Whereas there's a lot of 2 or 3 week courses on Futurelearn. So if you want to dip your toe in, maybe Futurelearn's a bit better for it. These are more in depth. But then that said, you know, I've done 8 week courses on Futurelearn. I think Futurelearn's got more variety of length. And actually, I have been on Futurelearn courses where you have to do assignments as well. But these all seem to require a degree of academic rigor. So that's the only one I'm doing at the moment. I'd say that's a free one. Then I've completed a couple here. Both of these I paid for. There's the Cosmopolitan Medieval Arabic World from Leiden University in the Netherlands, and the Talmud and Methodological Introduction from Northwestern. That was, again, very video-based, but with some nice animations on it. It was quite good. The Cosmopolitan Medieval World, I think I'll show that, because that one, so here, congratulations, you finished it. But it's, it was interesting, if I can get this to come up, because it's got the different elements there, and then there is an optional honors content, and the Talmud one also had this, and I think this may be to do with if you're paying, and they were both, I think it was, I can't remember, it was $37 or dollars or £37. I can't remember the cost, but it wasn't a huge amount. And you had this optional section if you wanted to go further with it. And there were little quizzes. So if I go on the quiz in the options section, if it comes up, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it won't come up because I've already done it. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't seem to be coming up that. But there were quizzes, there were assignments. I thought it was good. I mean, I have to say, all 3 have been good quality that I've done so far.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good, Matt. I think the variety there, of course, is, as you say, Futurelearn's also got a large variety of courses. But just looking through, just keying in psychology, you can see the number of courses that came up. Interesting, we're both gone for psychology, but that's yeah. That's probably because we're running out of examples to show. Probably we've done so many. We've looked at so many of these different courses. Yeah. But I definitely think this looks more advanced than some of the Futurelearn stuff. Having said that, some of the Futurelearn things, especially around forensic science, which we've done, is really in depth and very, very good. But these look very good as well. So. I think I'll definitely be having a look and seeing which other courses there are, and trying to find one that really, really fits in. The introduction to psychology looks good, but I think I'll go a bit further in and look at the others, not all 700, but I'll have a glance through some of the others and see what else is available. See if there's something that's more along forensic psychology or something that sort of sits nicely with previous courses I've done.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say from a personal perspective is that although I like Coursera, I do have criticisms. I don't think it's as easy to navigate. I don't like it as much as a platform compared with Futurelearn. I think Futurelearn is more user friendly, and for example, there are discussion fora on Coursera. But if you write a comment on there and somebody replies to it or likes it, it doesn't tell you. Now in Futurelearn, up in the corner of the screen, you get this little bell that with a 1 or 2 as to how many responses you've had. So you know, and you engage in far more discussion. I find that because I don't know when people are replying to my comments, or at least, or unless it is that nobody's ever replied to them, which is another possibility, I suppose, then I'm not engaging in the discussions as much. The fora are far more embedded in Futurelearn, and I think that's a great strength compared with Coursera. But I do like the setup of the courses, and I think the quality with all 3 that I've done has been there. One small issue I've had, the videos, sometimes if you leave them running for a while, which, you know, with the Buddhist psychology one, when they're half an hour long, you do, they sometimes freeze and I have to reload the page, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, I can understand that would be if you're 28 minutes in and you're up to 30 minutes if you can't move it on. But I mean, it definitely looks like a really worthwhile site, and I think people who've used some of the other platforms certainly will like this, and will like looking at, you know, when you look at some of the names of the universities involved, obviously they're very it's prestigious, so the quality will be there. Like Futurelearn and like OpenLearn that we have here, you know, we're talking quality rather than someone who's just started up and decided to put a few courses on. These all form part of wider course and degree courses by the look of them. A lot of them, certainly in Futurelearn, they do. A lot of and this looks the same. That this is introduction to some of the work that you do if you're doing a degree. So there is a caveat there that you will need a certain, I think in some of them a certain level of qualification already to be accessing some of them.
Well, possibly, or, you know, is it not a good idea to try these out if you're thinking about doing a university level qualification and you want a good way to play with it where there are no consequences, rather than paying for a very expensive university course and then, you know, really struggling with it? This is a good way to hone your skills.
Absolutely. I mean, it's great that you can try before you buy in a lot of sense with some of these courses. I think that's the beauty of free online learning. It's, if it doesn't work, you move on. Whereas if you've signed up to a course and you're paying for it for a college or university, you're stuck. You know, you might be able to move between courses, but it's not very easy. And you know, I think finding the right course for you, if you're going to pay for something or going to saddle yourself with a debt later in life, finding the right course from the start is really useful. And all the information, advice and guidance you receive from someone might not be as good as actually dipping your toe in.
Yeah. And I have to say, you know, going back to your point about quality, the quality is there. Like, all these lecturers, you know, on all 3 of the courses that I've done have been really good, not only knowledgeable lecturers, but they've had the presentation skills as well. And had someone who has been to university, you know, and had face-to-face lectures, that quality wasn't always there. You know, so they have picked some good lecturers for this, and I think so. I would say it's a positive university experience. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think you've sold it to me, and I hope people watching will enjoy it as well, because I think it's really useful, and there's a wide variety of courses on there that people can have a look at. I think
I think one final point, you said I've sold it. If you did want to buy the annual package, you can buy an annual package, but I think it's about, I can't remember if it's 300 quid or $300. Whatever it is, it's considerably more than the Futurelearn. And I thought I would have to do a hell of a lot of courses, particularly when some of them are free anyway, to warrant getting that. So I think the Futurelearn annual package was representing better value for money than this one, which is why I've not bought it.
Yeah. I mean, I think again it comes down to cost as well. People who've got that money to spend on this may well choose to, but it's people who haven't.
I think you've got to do about 10 courses in a year to get your money's worth, and at the end of the day, that's a lot of courses when they're all 6 to 8 weeks long.
It is, and what we'd like to see is courses like these accessible to anyone, especially people who haven't got the means and wouldn't normally get this type of learning. I think that's the key to the key to why these are so important, and especially when they're run by universities as well. A lot of people won't have access to university level learning in their schooling. They may well have started learning later in life, and or during their career, and or when they started work through a learning centre, then this is a natural progression for them, I think, to start looking at courses like this before then making that decision whether they want to commit themselves to a longer term course.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for the discussion, Adrian. It's been enjoyable.
No,
See you again next week to talk about another learning platform.
Yeah, look forward to it, Matt.
Okay, let's
Bye,
try.
everyone.
See you.